Continuing to talk about the hackers and the types of hackers, another variety that we can talk about are called the vulnerability hackers. Vulnerability hackers might also be called white hat hackers. They might be called ethical hackers. And the notion here is that these are hackers who are doing the hacking out of a sense of simply helping others understand what the vulnerabilities are. A while back, Synack held a challenge where they paid $30,000 as the highest reward for exposing hacking vulnerabilities. So your white hat hackers and your ethical hackers would then come out and try and figure out what the vulnerabilities are. And this was actually brilliant on Synack's part because they were able to get a lot of information about their security for truly not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. For the hackers, the white hat hackers who were being challenged and who were quite competitive, it certainly was a lot. But at the same time, to have paid a consultant to do these things or an outside company, Synack probably would have paid quite a bit more. Now, these white hat hackers and these ethical hackers are called bug bounties. I don't know if you watch Dog the Bounty Hunter, but we might envision that we have Dog the white hat hacker, or Dog the ethical hacker, or Dog the bug bounty hunter. And the point here is they're searching for vulnerabilities, just as a bounty hunter searches for the offender who's skipping bail. The bug bounty is searching for vulnerabilities in a cyberspace area to try and identify how we can limit those types of vulnerabilities. The question that comes up with all of this is whether or not we should teach ethical hacking. Ethical hacking, Pike has talked about as being a particularly important area that we need to think about and consider. And the benefits of ethical hacking as a teaching this is that if we teach people how to hack, they can understand hacking. They can understand hackers. Now, if we teach people how to hack and we don't tie in an ethical component or ethical instruction into it, though, it can be particularly problematic because we don't want to teach people how to commit crime. You don't really have to teach someone traditional crimes for the most part. You don't have to teach someone how to rob someone. And while there's certain techniques and skills they learn, it's not quite the same as learning how to hack. But when we teach hacking, the student will understand the behavior, the process, and the subculture of hacking. We need to tie in, though, why individuals would be needing to know this information. And the ethical component is certainly an important component of teaching about hacking. Now, the disadvantages, again, we're teaching people how to commit a crime that they wouldn't necessarily know how to do to begin with. And Pike has cited research showing that both white hat and black hat hackers understand the consequences of illegal hacking. However, college students do not. Now, what that's meaning is, while white hat and black hat, the white hat being the ones that do it for the good of society and the black hat doing it to create harm, they understand what the consequences are in general. But studies on college students show that students don't necessarily know the consequences to the same degree. So what this certainly drives home is that point that we most definitely need to include ethical hacking in our instruction about vulnerability hacking. And if we're teaching someone how to hack, we need to be teaching them why they're hacking, what the consequences of the hacking are, and how to do it for good. It's, I guess, analogous to that Spider-Man quote about using your powers for good, and this is the type of power that we would want someone to not violate and to certainly use for the benefit of society. Who are our hackers? Our hackers are younger. Now, this isn't surprising because younger folks tend to know more about computers than older folks, and they've been exposed to them for a longer period of time. And we know that you recall from the white-collar cybercrime discussions that even comparing white-collar offenders to cyber offenders, the cyber offenders tended to be younger. They tend to be Caucasian white hackers. And here again, it's probably the exposure and part of the subculture that individuals find themselves in. They tend to be males. And when we look at STEM in general, we know that STEM is very much, when we talk about STEM, it means science, technology, engineering, and math. It's very much a gender-driven area, which we most definitely need more females to be a part of. Yet this overrepresentation of males in that area creates a situation that we shouldn't be surprised that males are more likely to be hackers. They tend to be high school educated, and what this drives home is that they're not committing crimes. They're not committing crimes as a result of this sophisticated education, that they tend to have a high school education, tend to be international in scope. These offenses are cutting across all countries, and whereas if someone wants to rob someone, they do it in the physical space of where two people are. Or if you want to break into someone's home, there's a physical space that's very much limited by geography and boundaries and those sorts of things. Cyber hackers have an international background and often cross jurisdictional borders. And I'd also note that when females are involved in hacking offenses, typically they're done in groups. They're helping or assisting another offender, and could be other females. More likely, it's a male offender that they're working with, who might be their boss or might have more power. And that's just a pattern we find in all types of crimes, but we also find it in hacking offenses. Why do people hack? Two of the larger theories that we can talk about are the subcultural explanations, and these subcultural explanations simply suggest that individuals are part of a technology subculture that rewards behavior. So it's sort of it's analogous to criminologists have talked about the code of the street to explain why traditional crimes happen. And the code of the street refers to this notion that there are certain rules that in inner cities that people abide by, and those rules might actually foster and support criminal behavior. Well, some people have talked about the code of the internet, and the code of the internet suggests that there's a subculture and rules and values that get promoted, and based upon which subculture individuals find themselves in, they might have different values and rules and different motives for engaging in behaviors. The white hat vulnerability hackers, they're part of a technological subculture that's driven by competition, that competitive edge, but also by legal and financial rewards. Cyber criminals. These individuals would be a part of a subculture that's aiming to create harm or get an unfair economic financial advantage over another group. And in this sense, that subculture would be the most analogous to the traditional gang or the traditional criminal subculture that you might find in traditional crimes. DEF CON, you probably have heard of. This is an annual conference for hackers, and the vast majority of them are going to be the vulnerability hackers and the white hat hackers who come together, but also law enforcement goes there and researchers go there because they want to learn at DEF CON. But this is a group of individuals that have different values, different beliefs, different experiences than non-hackers. And recognizing that they're a part of a subculture may help us to understand why people hack. Now, learning theory, in contrast, is focused more specifically on the fact that individuals learn how to hack and they learn why to hack. And that this process of learning, analogous to how people learn anything, examines how cybercrime research examines how individuals learn definitions about hacking and learn how to hack, learn the motives for hacking, and how this occurs in groups, and or it might be a self-learning sort of process. But the fact is, learning is an essential part of hacking. We can ask the question, how do other disciplines see hacking? And information technology might see hacking as a technological issue, that we should enhance our technology and our understanding about technology to try and deal with hacking. Business as a discipline, or the disciplines within business, might be more concerned about the harm that's done to businesses, and be concerned about insider hacking, and they also might be concerned with how do we create a business that responds to hacking. Philosophers would be examining the ethical aspects of hacking, and how we promote ethical hacking and limit unethical hacking, and what are the philosophical underpinnings of the behaviors that promote hacking. Engineers would be interested in developing the physical systems, the cyber infrastructure that can limit hacking, and but also how to test those systems. Computer scientists would be interested in how to develop the software and computer software, and how individuals interact with that software and computers in general, and how that relates to hacking. Criminal justice, in contrast, would be interested in how we as a society should respond to hackers and hacking. What should we do to stop hacking? Do we arrest people? Do we teach people? Do we educate? Now, as I've noted, and has been noted several times, none of these disciplines can respond to hacking by themselves. A better response to hacking would involve a situation where we have individuals from these disciplines working together. So we have criminal justice working with engineers, working with computer sciences and philosophers and business folks and information technology experts. And we get these folks in a room and we ask them, how do we address hacking? And while they each may identify their own responses and their own strategies, through that discussion, the criminal justice person might talk about a specific activity or a specific process. Then the engineer would talk about how to build a system to address that process, and the computer scientist would talk about the software to put into that physical system. The philosopher would talk about how to make sure that it's being done in an ethical way that's for the good of society and not limiting access to information. The business person would be thinking about how we do this in a way that helps our business, and how we might actually create a business out of this, while the information technology expert would be thinking about all of that information, that data that is going into this technology, and how to best protect that technology through these interactions with individuals from these other disciplines. Now, this certainly oversimplifies the interdisciplinary aspect of responding to hacking, but the oversimplification does not understate the importance of an interdisciplinary response to hacking. Indeed, it might actually help to support that need for a more holistic response to this behavior. After all, hackers don't major in any of these specific disciplines, so we can't expect the professionals responding to hackers to be able to do so if they come from just one of these disciplines.